Thanks for staying tuned on the newspaper review this morning. Now we're joined with our guest virtually, Sheson Okunade, a public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us this morning on the newspaper review.
Good morning, Esther, and good morning to our viewers. My pleasure to be here this morning.
Now let's talk about what's been happening. Insecurity in Nigeria is not new. However, there are now calls for resignation. Yesterday, it was the Northern Elders to the president. Today, it is the reps to the NSA and our defense minister. What exactly is the effect of resignation? We'll start with that. Then first, we'll ask if that is what I would ask if that's what we need at this point in time. But I'd like to ask, what is the effect of resignation to insecurity? What exactly would resignation change if indeed this happens at the end of the day?
Yeah, Esther, if you looked at it, I would like us to go, in retrospect, backward to have a feel of we having the cost to change the security apparatus over time. And you ask yourself the question, has there been any changes? The answer is no. Rather, we seem to be having it worse than ever before. And this is not far-fetched. It's about strategy.
Okay.
You see, this war that we are faced with is not the conventional war that we used with. It's an ideological thing that people are actually being brainwashed on certain things which they are against. And, they started with moving against Western education, trying to go their own path. So if you have to go the route, it is not about sacking individuals.
Okay.
It's not about sacking anybody. It's about redefining your strategy on how to go about it. If you look at the attack we've been having, there is one thing that is lacking, intelligence gathering. The attack we had on the Kaduna, there was information that the governor said trains should not move at night. That's the governor of a state given an information. Did we act at it? Was there any proactive measure to guide against this? The answer is no. We are always reactive to issue, and that's a problem on its own. So for someone like me, it's not about you coming to say, this person has failed, we are going to change the person. The reason why we are where we are today is because we don't have a system. If you have a system functional, irrespective of the person there, and that's when you talk about system, you talk about strategy. Those things are plugged in. The person comes in, meets the system, works with it, and you see deliverable. But you keep changing everybody. We love the atmosphere of saying once somebody fails, the next thing is to sack. You bring in the new person. Within the shortest possible time he failed, you sack. How many of those, you are just changing clothes like a chameleon? It will not work. Government should go back to the drawing board and re-strategize. Look at a system that works, that when you plug in even somebody that didn't go to school, the system regulates its idea and bring out results rather than individualistic or saying this is my own idea, and when I fail, you ask him to go, another person brings the idea. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, but I'll butt in here. If the system is fixed, like you have suggested, and the ideologies have been corrected, but the people that are now in power are still not performing, don't you think that it's still going to defeat the purpose of working on the system? Because I have here that the lawmakers took turns to criticize the action and inaction of the president. That's how the Punch newspaper puts it, restating their earlier call for a declaration of emergency on security. So even if there is a system and we have people that are not active according to how the situation is going, according to how the insecurity is affecting them, don't you think it's going to still defeat the purpose at the end of the day?
It will not. It will not. The way a system runs, it's you have it plugged in. If anybody comes in place, it is not about that person. It's about the system you are meeting. And it is not you that is controlling the system. Let me ask you this basic question. You don't even have the knowledge of how to use a phone. A phone has a system. If you want to dial, you know what to do. If you want to send a text message, you know where to go. If you want to WhatsApp, you know that's a system. But you don't even have the basic knowledge of how that thing operates. Definitely there will be a guide, a working guide, like we always have that, okay, if you need to do this, this is what is expected of you. So you go in there, plug in that thing, and you see it's working. That is why we've said that why we have seen a failed state as a nation is because no system is working, not only in the area of security, security everywhere, the health sector, the education. If we have a system running, you don't build an empire around an individual that on his exit, it becomes a problem. You need a system to work, and that's why I'm not an advocate to say change out. If you have a system functioning and you are changing the people, is to tell you that the system itself is not working, because system correct individual. It's not the individual that correct the system, because it must have taken you time to bring the system to bear to make it work. And once you have it running, the next thing is everybody to plug in and things will function. So I think what we lack here is having the right strategy, having the right intelligence gathering, and a system working for us as a nation. That is the problem.
Let's go back in time briefly. During ECOMOG, Nigeria supported and went to Sierra Leone to offer military help, to offer military operations, and to restore peace in Sierra Leone. Nigeria was there. Why, if we don't have a system, how are we able to achieve that in Sierra Leone? And here, it seems like we are overstretched. It doesn't look like we are on top of our game. Why does it feel different? Why does it look like we can perform better for our neighbors in West Africa, and then here it looks different in our home?
I said it earlier, Esther. The current situation we found ourselves, and give it to our military personnel, it's not the conventional war that we are used to.
Okay.
The things that we are known.
So
the conventional war that I think this is.
What happened in Sierra Leone? Was it the conventional war?
It's a conventional war. People just feel that, okay, we are tired of this part of the government. We don't want them again, and you invade in, you calm them down. No. But here we are talking of ideology that is indoctrinated into people. Remember when we have this, started this problem, when this problem started in 2009, so many people were kidnapped. The attack we had on Kaduna, it was reported everywhere that these are young children of between 18 and 20. So 2019 to now, the school children, primary school children that were kidnapped are the ones that are eating back on the system now. They've been indoctrinated. They've been, while you are growing up, it's part of the things you learn that will make you to react to issues. These are children that have been indoctrinated into why they feel they should attack the state that they belong to. So the problem is not about the conventional war where you say these are the problem we've identified as we speak. The problem of what the bandits are asking for has not been addressed. And that's why you could hear some people coming to tell you that the government know where these people are, the people, they know where they stay, they know them, but to do justice to them has been a problem because it is not the conventional war. It's a war of ideology. And that's why we feel we need to re-strategize to get this resolved. Otherwise, we keep having a compounding problem on daily basis as we're having it now.
Okay, one last question on this insecurity situation before we move on. The Guardian reports that while some called for the sacking or resignation of the National Security Advisor and the Minister of Defense, others are calling for the shutdown of the National Assembly, partly blaming the Parliament for not doing enough in its oversight of the executive arm. It looks like a trade of blames here. Is this these opinions, these two sides, is this enough to deal with this situation? The Parliament and then our security advisors, are these bodies enough to deal with the insecurity situation in the country?
Yeah, you see, the two sides of it, like I said, to me, it's not the way to go. The National Assembly on its own, calling for shutdown, or people are asking them to shut down, well, maybe on a lighter mood, I would say they should shut down so that we can have some savings and have some gain economically, knowing fully well the chunk of funds that this National Assembly goes away with in our budget. If they will shut down the system and not be paid for the period that they have actually not working, I think that won't be a problem. We'll have enough savings to take care of some certain area. But let's go back on the National Assembly have their role to play here. And there are many of them in their constituency where these issues are happening. I've visited the area to look at how they can penetrate in. It's not enough to just straight blame and give it to the executive arm of the government alone. Yeah. Government is a collective effort. the legislators have the law to guide the executive. The executive are there. You can go extra mile, go to the environment where you belong to, but most of them, where do they reside?
No, do you think it's safe if someone from maybe Borno State, a legislator from Borno State, do you think it's safe for them to even move around? Do you think that that is a good advice?
Why is it not safe? They have all the security apparatus guiding them. They are not like you and I. So it's for them to put their machinery in place. That's why you're a leader. You take the risk. You sacrifice everything. That's part of what we call service. You cannot see your people dying and you say you are governing on a failed environment or a failed state. How will you call yourself a senator or an house of assembly and all your people you are governing, they have already vacated your constituency, relocating to another place while you are at Abuja doing it? So it's enough for them to take the bull by the horn. If you know that indeed you are a leader, you have all the machineries that can surround them. They go about blowing siren with all the security apparatus guiding them. Then you go to the environment. Even if it will take you the extra mile to use, since they say that they know where those people are, to talk to them and bring peace. You see, most of the time we talk about the people that are dying via the gun and this bandit. Economically, we are grounded. No activity. Imagine what is going on in Russia. Nobody is talking about economic activity in that nation. And that is what we are facing too in the northeast and the northwest. Nobody can carry out any activity. And that's why it has resulted into food insecurity, because we know that the northern part of the region is the food basket of the nation. And now nobody can go to the farm. Nobody is safe. You have killed people, and you see, the way these things are interrelated, it creates more problem for people. So for me, the legislator alone should not just take blame, and if they can ask the executive to take the bull by the horn, they themselves can go extra mile, go to their constituency, and see how they can address some of these issues, rather than just staying in Abuja and saying all the words that are there.
Okay, let's wait and see if they can really do that. But you mentioned economic activities, and this brings me to the next topic. Electricity supply is one that Nigerians can testify. Everyone watching, everyone listening right now, and everyone that watched this program, this conversation again, can indeed agree that there's been a change in our electricity supply. But we have an announcement, a big one here, that FERC approves 1.4 billion naira for power sector. How long should we wait to see what's the difference, what the changes, and what the effect of 1.4 billion naira will do in our power sector? Do you see this as something that is going to make people smile? I'll get into how it's affecting business and homes shortly, but let's talk about this 1.4 billion naira for power sector. I mean, isn't this some good news already?
Yeah, well, coincidentally, this is a sector we are major. Having that particular approval is really not to galvanize or guarantee our power supply. You know what we've experienced in the last 1 month. We've had over 3 system collapse in the nation. And as a matter of fact, maybe I'll put clarity. This money was approved for the variation in the contract of the 132 by 33 substation in Kaduna line. So you discover that it's not an holistic thing. And I heard the Minister of Power talking yesterday about the sabotage on the part of the people, which has plunged us to where we are. Well, you ask yourself the question, if you are a leader, you don't just take the glory alone. You look at the problem is part of what you are actually engaged.
Please, what sabotage? You said the sabotage on the part of the people. What exactly does that mean now?
Yeah, he said there has been incessant attack on the infrastructure.
Okay.
The power infrastructure. That was what he mentioned this morning that I listened to in the news. And you ask yourself the question, this problem have been there. Is still currently there. We don't want to hear about the problem. What was the solution? So we've had a lot of money being rolled out for this sector, and we never get value expected of it. Remember, during Obasanjo, over 16 billion as at that period, dollars was rolled out even for this sector. This administration too has salvaged the situation, even the privatized sector, to see how. But we have not gotten the value. The masses are still yearning for serious metering projects, which they are even ready to pay for, which they are not getting. On the other part, we've been having epileptic power supply, which has actually drained even the business sense, knowing fully well that the alternative power supply is not smiling as we speak, the cost of diesel is very high. So this that has actually been rolled out, I think is one of the rolling out that we are used to. There is one thing that we lack in this country: monitoring properly, effectively, money that are being disbursed for the right business. To ask our leaders question. This money that was churned out, is it actually being used for what they asked you to use it? That is the gap that we have in this sector. Otherwise, if these are being monitored, we have enough resources that have been rolled into this sector, but we're not getting value expected. You know, people will give you the expectation of what the money will be used for. But when this money are rolled out, we discover that we don't get the exact value that they have promised. And this is the gap that needs to be breached up.
Okay, if peradventure this particular amount, let's say for now, it works, that this amount is, you know, pumped into the electricity sector and the changes are made. If, let's just say, for some good reason it happens, all things work according to plan, because we can see the reasons for this 1.4 billion is for the supply of more equipment for the transmission company of Nigeria, is to supply equipment to boost electricity supply. So my question now is, if indeed this amount is used effectively, what are the kind of changes we should expect to see in the electricity sector? If peradventure everything works out fine, what do you think will change in our electricity supply?
Yeah, well, if this is eventually used the way it is, building up more substation and investing at the end product, which is the disco, is very key. Even though it's in the hand of the private sector, I think there is need to monitor the key performance index of what these private sectors are actually doing, because they are the end result for you and I. TCN actually gives some of these things to them, and that is where the government is investing to. The question is the disco themselves prepared to receive, if they get it from TCN? You know the level of the state of the transformer. I'm sure the transformer in your house, if they give you 24-hour supply for the next 1 week, you'll be afraid whether the transformer will not explode. Some of the transformers at the disco level are obsolete too. These are transformers that have been installed since 1976, 80-something. And you ask yourself, is there no depreciation on some of these things? The answer is yes, they are supposed to have been changed. How much investment are the discos on their part prepared for the improvement that we'll be getting from TCN if this money is judiciously used? So that's another question that we need to answer. Is the disco prepared for it? Because if they inject money in the GENCO, we have had that so much is being generated, but we have the deficiency in the transmission capacity. But the answer is, if you improve the transmission capacity, is the disco ready to accept it? As we speak, we've had instances where some disco will reject supply from the TCN, and that at times creates the collapse that we experience, because there is no proper structure to even distribute the supply to get their money even for this. So it's a chain that we need to work upon, both at the GENCO, the transmission, and the disco themselves, so that we can have power supply. It's critical to the growth and development of the nation if it's properly addressed.
You seem to be answering a question I was about to ask you. I mean, talking about our substations, the connection between our supply, about 4,000 megawatts according to reports, and the need for substations, talking about our disco. Now, you just, dealt with that already, but still, I'm going to ask, can't we have more than 4,000? Can't we go up to 7,000 megawatts? Can't we aim for higher? Is it an unrealistic demand or desire? Isn't that something that Nigeria can get for over 200 million citizens? Our population, is it matching with our power supply, the megawatts that we have right now?
Well, if you compare us with our contemporaries like South Africa, you discover that we are far from it. As we speak, I know that South Africa generates close to 40,000 megawatts, while we're still battling with 4,000. That's not 10% of what those guys are actually generating.
That difference is sad to hear. It's easy to read, but it's not good for the ears at all. Because the way we claim that we are the giant of Africa, you would think that...
But that's the reality.
Yes.
You've seen even other neighboring nations like Ghana coming up, Republic of Benin coming up.
Oh my goodness.
Generation. The truth of the matter is, even if we generate more, and we don't have the capacity to transmit, it will still be a problem. Not even transmitting. Then, like I said, are we ready to distribute? Those are areas where we expect that the government should actually put their eyes on. You actually privatize some of these things so that you can be relieved of the problem as government. But how much monitoring are you putting on them? What is NEC, who is the regulatory body, doing in the aspect of making sure that the DISCO are, adhering to some of the things? We've still had instances where communities go ahead to buy transformers themselves, to buy infrastructure themselves, to make sure that they connect to grid. And the policy has not changed. Even if you invest a lot in that particular arms, the property, the asset belong to the DISCO. And you ask yourself, how can we be investing for it? But people feel that, okay, if I have the wherewithal, and we have asked, can we have more people going into IPP that you can segregate and, reduce people in-house to do this? Open the space. Let people, manage and administer location. You can just do a submetering saying that this particular area, I'm franchising it to a particular person. Let them monitor closely. If the person needs to change the transformer, meter all the personnel there, and build them the way it is to guarantee power supply. So be it. You are, inviting more investment into it. I can tell you that some people are enjoying 24-hour power supply, even in this nation. How did they get it? They pay more for it. We under Ikeja Electric, they've tried that, and it's working. They have premium customers that they don't have their light blinked, except if their system collapse. And as soon as there is any fault, they go ahead and they fix those things. But they don't pay the same rate you and I are paying. So it's to tell you that if you decentralize some of these things and leave it even as sub project in the hands of individual, we can improve that power. They will monitor closely. The issue of individual bypassing meter, energy theft can be caught and can be curtailed, and everybody will be better for it. But we seem to just be having everything at the central, not ready to liberalize even the sector, and that's the problem that we're faced with.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. It was such a great conversation with you, Sheson Kwande, this morning. Thank you for giving us your opinion on the newspaper review.
My pleasure always, Esther, and thanks for having me. A blessed day to all our viewers.
We hope to get more deeper into this and maybe talk about a different approach, maybe an improvement on our power supply next time. Do have a great day ahead. Thanks for joining us.